This is a very exciting day for us. Today we are breaking ground on a building, the museum, which will be part of the Flying Tiger Heritage Park located at this site. It will be the first building to go up on this 300-acre Flying Tiger Heritage Park site. Eventually, the site will have replica buildings, memorial walls, park-like surroundings, and General Chenault's command cave, which is behind me, will be restored for visitation. Yongtong Airfield was home to the American Volunteer Group, or the AVG, the original Flying Tigers, and later to the 14th Army Air Forces. From this field and others like it, the Flying Tigers fought the Japanese, establishing aerial combat records that have never been equaled. Until the arrival of the Flying Tigers, the Japanese had bombed civilian populations at will. The Flying Tigers put an end to that, and in so doing established a bond of friendship that endures to this day. It is important to note that the Chinese consider any airman who flew in China in World War II to be a Flying Tiger. They do not distinguish between bomber pilots, fighter pilots, or transport pilots. All were Flying Tigers. It is also important to note that without the sacrifices made by the Chinese to help and protect the Flying Tigers, they could not have been so successful. Flying Tigers who have traveled with us have told us that they knew if they were shot down and managed to get into the hands of Chinese, they would get home. Many times the Chinese gave up their own lives to save those of the Flying Tigers. 95% of all the Flying Tigers who were shot down and rescued by the Chinese made it back to base. When I first saw the command cave 6 years ago, the scene was little changed from 1945. Bomb craters still existed, and the runway area was still barren. Standing on the same rock that General Chenault stood on to watch air combats, I looked across the airfield and saw exactly the same picture I had seen on a Flying Tiger documentary that had been shot on our public broadcasting system. The only thing missing were the P-40s taking off. One could not look out and realize the history which had taken place here and not be emotionally moved. The next year when we were here, we could see construction moving down the valley. I was standing next to General James Whitehead, United States Air Force retired, and I commented to him that it was a shame that this history that took place here would soon be lost forever. He thought for a moment and said, yes, and if we don't do something to save the cave, it will be gone also. That night, Mr. Casey Ma, General Whitehead, and I expressed our concerns about losing this historical site to our Chinese host. We suggested that if they could come up with plans for restoring the command cave as a memorial site, we would raise the money. The plans the Chinese came up with were grand beyond our dreams. They would build a 300-acre memorial historical park honoring the Flying Tigers at a cost of over $3 million US. They were looking to us to raise $400,000 as our share, something we had been working on for over 2 years. The Chinese have been very patient and gracious while waiting for us to accomplish our goal. They have supplied us with anything and everything we have asked for to help us in our fundraising endeavors. That the Chinese are moving forward with construction while we'll work on our commitment to them is very gratifying. Our aim and goal is to honor both the American and Chinese who sacrificed so much during World War II and to preserve for history a record of those deeds. Our two great nations stood together in battle, defeating a common enemy and building a friendship which has brought us here today. In honoring this past friendship, we can only strengthen our future relationships. In the course of history, when the entire world was at war, bullets brought victory and peace to our two nations. In this time of worldwide economic crisis, let's all hope that friendship and cooperation between our two peoples will create a more peaceful and prosperous world for all our children.
Now, let's give a big hand to welcome the head of Tourism Bureau of the Autonomous Region, Chen Jianjun, to declare the groundbreaking of the Flying Tiger Relics Park.
My name is Pat O'Dowd.
You know the history.
So I know some of the history. I've studied some of the history before I got here, and I've learned more since I've gotten here. And it's been wonderful. What a wonderful day for everybody, for the Chinese, for the Americans, for all of us.
When you come home, you are talking this history to your children.
When I come home, I will talk about this experience to my children and to my grandchildren. And we will be renewed about how privileged we are and how those who went before us and fought for us is the reason that we are here today and able to enjoy the lives that we enjoy.
Okay, have a good time being here.
And having a wonderful time in China. Love China.
Good time.
Thank